Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sanjay says, O King Dhritarashtra, seeing Arjuna lamenting in the midst of two armies, Shree Krishna, as if laughing loud, spoke these words. The Supreme Lord Shree Krishna said, O Arjuna, you speak words of wisdom, and yet you mourn for those who are not worthy of grief. The wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna starts his teaching about the immortality of the soul, which is our real self. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, never was there a time when I did not exist, or you did not exist, or all these kings here did not exist, nor in the future will any of us cease to exist.
Just as an embodied soul passes through various stages of childhood, youth, and old age, similarly, when the body is worn out, the embodied soul leaves the present body, passes into another body. The wise are not deluded by this.
Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, O son of Kunti, the contact between the senses and the sense objects gives rise to fleeting experiences of pain and pleasure. These are non-permanent and keeps coming and going like the seasons of winter and summer. He says, O descendant of Bharata, one must learn to endure them without being disturbed. Sri Krishna says, O Arjuna, noblest amongst men, the person who is not affected by pleasure and pain, happiness and distress, remains steady in both, is surely eligible for liberation. Sri Krishna says, the one that is unreal has no permanence, and the one that is real, eternal, never ceases to exist. This has been verily observed and concluded by the knowers of truth after studying the nature of both. This verse has a deep philosophical meaning. The world we live in is ever changing. Nothing in this world is permanent, so it is unreal. The only reality is Brahman, or the immortal soul, which is eternal and never ceases to exist. And that is our real self, our real identity. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, O Arjuna, the entire body is pervaded by Atma, or the immortal soul, which is indestructible. No one can cause the destruction of the imperishable soul. Sri Krishna says, only the material body is perishable. The embodied soul within is indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata. Sri Krishna continues with his timeless teachings about the Atma, or the immortal soul. He says, one is not in knowledge when he thinks that the soul can slay, or the soul can be slain. In truth, the soul can never slay or can be slain. He says, the soul is neither born nor does it ever die. It never ceases to exist. The soul is without birth, eternal, immortal, and ageless. It is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. Shree Krishna says to Arjuna, O Parth, he who knows that the soul is imperishable, eternal, unchangeable, unborn, whom can he slay or cause to be slain? Sri Krishna says, when a person's clothes are worn out, he sheds them off and wears new ones. Similarly, when the material body is worn out, the immortal soul within, which is the real self, casts off the worn out body and enters into a new one. Supreme Lord Sri Krishna continues with his teachings about the Atman, or the immortal soul, which is our real self. He says, the soul cannot be cut with weapons. Fire cannot burn it. Water cannot wet it. Nor can the wind dry it up. He says, the soul is unbreakable. It cannot be burnt. It can neither be dampened nor dried. It is eternal, all-pervading, unalterable, unchangeable, and ancient. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, the immortal soul, or the real self, is unknowable by the senses and unthinkable by the mind, and is not subject to any kind of change. Knowing this, you should not grieve. Jai Shri Krishna.